Last night, I saw Deathly Hallows, and it was amazing. My friends and I all went together. We had amazing seats. We had a ton of fun. Naturally, we dressed up, even though it wasn't opening night, but we still had a blast. And I truly feel that it was the best movie to date. I thought that it was the best adaptation of the book so far. I truly felt the same way watching parts in the movie as I did when I read those same parts in the book, which is really saying something because Deathly Hallows it meant so much to me when I first read it, and it still does. I really liked the scene in the movie at the very beginning when they showed Hermione obliviating her parents. Even though we didn't see it in the book, we were just sort of told about it, I thought it really fit in with the book, and it really showed how much Hermione and Ron were willing to sacrifice for Harry, and for the greater good, really. But it really helped tie in with the movie, especially when they're in the diner and they fight the Snatchers, and then at the very end, Hermione obliviates them, and you can just see in her face like the reluctance she has because it's reminding her so much of what happened to her parents. There were so many funny quirks in the movie, even though it's meant to be such a dark and serious film, which it was. There were still a lot of really just lighthearted moments that just made it really enjoyable to watch. The part when Hermione is cutting Harry's hair and she has this like realization about Gryffindor's sword, and she sort of is like, oh my god, while she's holding the scissors, and Harry just kind of freaks out. He's like, what did you do? And it's just moments like that, and Ron has these just one-liners throughout the movie, and it was just really funny, like all of them, but it still was dark in a way. Like, there were things that you could laugh at, but the moments were so brief, and you really just sort of got right back into the seriousness of the film. I really liked the way that they showed how the locket was affecting everyone and how it sort of broke up the trio. I really liked how they did the scene when George lost his ear and he and Fred make that joke about being saint-like. I love all the parts at the Malfoy Manor. I thought everything that happened there was really well done, especially the part when Bellatrix is torturing Hermione. It gives you chills. I really liked how they portrayed the Snatchers, especially the boss guy who was always hitting on Hermione or whatever. I really liked the part when they showed the Death Eaters stopping the Hogwarts Express and sort of searching the train for Harry, and that really helped show Hogwarts has become corrupt and Snape is headmaster and everything. But I really liked the part when they're actually on the train and Neville stands up and he's like, he's not here, you can stop looking, kind of thing, standing up to the Death Eaters, and it really kind of showed how far Neville has come in Elfville. It just reiterated how far all the characters have come, and it really kind of showed things to come with Neville specifically. I loved the part with Godric's Hollow. I loved everything about it. I loved when they first arrive, walking on the street. I love the graveyard. I love when they meet Bathilda. I love her house. It was just so well done. It was definitely my favorite scene in the movie. And the part when Harry goes off with Bathilda farther into her house and Hermione is just searching, it's so scary. It was so good. I jumped, and Nicole screamed, and it was amazingly done. That was definitely the best scene in the movie. There were really only a few things that they'd left out in the film, but even so, I thought that the film flowed along really nicely. But there were really only a couple things that bothered me that they didn't include. I didn't like that we didn't see Luna's room. I didn't like that we don't really know anything about Lupin and Tonks. I didn't like that we didn't see Lupin and Harry fight at Grimmauld Place. And we never saw the letter that Lily wrote Sirius about Harry when he was a baby, but I kind of get the feeling that we're going to see something along those lines when the second part comes out, when they were sort of going through Snape's memory and getting explanations about things. It was about as good as you could get of a book adaptation without it being completely verbatim. I loved it a lot. I know I know there's always people that don't like the movies compared to the books at all, but I really enjoyed it. There was maybe like 10 minutes in the movie when I was not crying, and even though it's such a serious film, I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because it was more of like almost like an emotional release, like a purging kind of thing. Just because I've grown up with Harry Potter, I've been with it my whole life. It means so much to me, and now it's all sort of coming to an end. It's all sort of coming to a close. Like it's almost like closure in a way. Over the summer, I took up Nicole's challenge to read all 7 books in 7 days, and it really was kind of an eye-opening experience for me. Like, I've read all the books before, but never sequentially, never one right after another. And it really, you don't realize how well everything ties together unless you read the books like that, because there's so many details, there's so much going on in the books. Like Grindelwald is mentioned in Sorcerer's Stone. They talk about him on the chocolate frog card that Harry gets of Dumbledore. It talks about like his work with Nicholas Flamel, and then he's most famous for his defeat of Grindelwald or something like that. And Grindelwald is not mentioned for the rest of the series until Deathly Hallows, and you realize just when you read the books together, you realize just how amazing of a series it truly is. While I was doing this challenge over the summer, I also ended up writing kind of a journal going into more detail about how I got into Harry Potter and what it means to me and stuff like that, and I'll put a link to that in the thing. One of the things I like most about Harry Potter is that the series stretches over every single generation. I read the first couple books when I was a kid, when people considered the series to be a children's story. But as I grew up, the books also kind of grew up because the characters were growing up. So the books themselves became a lot more complex, but also there's all these like questions about morals and right and wrong and good and evil and things like that woven into the story. Even as a 17-year-old, I can still go back as an adult and enjoy the series for what it is, which is so much more than just a children's story. I've always enjoyed Harry Potter. I've loved it my whole life, but even I didn't really know how much the story truly meant to me until I was able to read all of the books sequentially. And I don't think anyone can realize that until you sort of you read the series for yourself, and you connect things for yourself, and you discover things that you didn't know occurred in the story on your own without people telling you or influencing you or something like that. And it really allows you to be aware of how incredible of a story this is, which is precisely why last night at the movies I began bawling, absolutely bawling, when the previews were over, the screen went dark, and everything was quiet, and then you hear that first note of Hedwig's theme just sort of chime out and just sort of ring and echo throughout the theater, and it's a magical moment. It's so cheesy, but it's truly a magical moment, and it sort of it takes you away into the world of Harry Potter and everything that goes with it, and how much it truly means to everyone. It's so hard to put into words just how much this means to me, to how much this has affected the world as a whole, and how many lives it's touched in such a good way.